Friday morning chat where we just take a few moments, talk about some things going on, and I'll hopefully offer some strategic tools for you and your workplace and your leadership. Greg, it has been a busy week for you.
Woo! It's been a full, active week indeed. Lots of fun.
Yeah, I
Thank
do
you.
want to say, everyone, at the end of this short video, Greg's going to give his contact information if you want to get in touch with him. So be sure and watch and listen for that. But the question that I have for you, Greg, today is when leaders and executives, HR professionals, employees are listing their workplace woes, right? Like people, when you get in a conversation with them, you're like, what's going on? How's it going? How's your workplace? How's the team? And they start to list off some of the woes that they have or things that they have, challenges going on.
Mhm.
Which of those things that people mention, or a couple of them even, that make you think, oh man, I can help you with that, or oh, that resonates with me, let me jump in right here.
Oh, Monica, I
What
don't know if you know this, but I always think I could probably be helpful. I could
uh-huh.
probably offer a new perspective or a fresh twist or a thought on that, or maybe some training or something that would
Mhm.
be really great. One of the things, honestly, of late, the thing that people are, most that create the biggest woe is the uncertainty of the future and of the
Mhm.
workplace, of their own employment, cuts, what's going to happen with you name it,
Mhm.
pricing of everything, and where all how that's going to impact them as a consumer, as a contributor. And so the shift is, um, for me, it's the idea of like, well, first of all, let's not exert worry before something happens. We want to be
Right.
mindful about the things that are going on in the world, but and we want to prepare and plan and be thoughtful. But a lot of what worry does is just release this negative energy that only convolutes and kind of confuses or makes blurry like best choices for the future and how
Mhm.
to prepare. And so a lot of times that the worry, I just, worry is like it's just an exhausting, fatiguing characteristic
Mhm.
that people grab onto like it's some sort of preserver. Like it's like, this is going to help me if I worry about this.
Yeah.
And it really does the exact opposite. It drains their energy, it drains their clarity, it causes them to feel forced in decisions that aren't
Mhm.
necessary at the moment. And so, uh, for the current season of life, how worry kind of takes hold of people's hearts and minds
Mhm.
is just such a deterrent for how they can move forward best
Yeah.
in this uncertainty and in preparing for the unknown to come.
So, what is a strategy? Because I think we can all relate to that. Because as leaders, as people in any field, in any sector of work, you want to be future focused
Hmm.
to a large degree. You want to be looking at the future and kind of, I mean, as much as you can, be one step ahead
Hmm.
and be focused on where you're going and where you're headed. But sometimes that does give way and open the door to worry. So, what is a strategy that you can provide or that you do provide that you can like kind of give a sneak peek about within your mind shifts that helps people shift that thinking because we want to be future focused, but we don't want to be stuck in worry. So, what is a strategy that can
Well,
help people?
I've got friends that say different things like, "So what?
Mhm.
Then what? And if so, and if this were to happen, then what?
Uh-huh.
Then what? Then what?" Because worry likes to stay out of the specifics.
Yeah.
You probably say something like that, Monica. Like I got a bunch of people that say different little things like, "What's next? If that, you do the if those kind of things."
Yeah.
But the idea of the well, just keep playing it out because vagary, the unspecified
Mhm.
fear is a lot more daunting than the, well, let me just think. If I do lose my job, then what? If
Mhm.
we do have staff reduction and I'm still here, then what?
Mhm.
If everybody remains the same, but they do a 10% across the board cut, then what? And
Mhm.
keep walking it out in how we think about it. So, one of the strategies is get specific, and those kinds of questions. If that does happen, so what?
Mhm.
Not until like, so what, but more the, what can I do? Because the more everything stays vague, the more daunting it becomes.
Yeah.
The sooner we go, well, let me just think, what would be the next step? Then what would
Yeah.
be the next step? Then what would happen? The more you can get specific or even just tangible, it takes away all the power of worry, because then at least there's well, if it happens this way, then this I get to do. If it
Mhm.
happens this way, if I keep my job and now have twice as many responsibilities
Yeah.
with half the resources, what am I going to do? And nobody knows. Like when we get in it, it's like, oh, I might not have realized I'd
Mhm.
feel this way, but at least you can mentally go, this will be my strategy or my approach, because fear is gripping. At the heart
Yeah.
of worry is fear, and fear will just lock you up
Mhm.
beyond reason and just stop you from any forward progress or any
Yeah.
ideas of how I could move forward. And so that's one. The second strategy, honestly, is having conversations. The best pressure release valve, because
Mhm.
worry builds up a lot of internal pressure that people walk around. There's people worried all over the place, and they're just walking around and you wouldn't know it. But
Mhm.
internally, they are just an exhausting place to be. And
Mhm.
so having some of those places where they can share constructively, shoot, if they can even share unconstructively, but let's
Yeah.
get it out with somebody who they trust. Somebody who's going to both be a comfort and a
Mhm.
challenge, that isn't going to just like let them wallow, but have a moment of wallow and then let's move you out. But just
Right.
that idea, a whole strategy of, there are so many people walking around with a lot of internal conversations that they just don't share with anybody, and it just builds up this pressure
Yeah.
that again debilitates their effectiveness for good decision making, clarity about what they're trying to discern, and a willingness for courage to show up and help them move in that direction.
Yeah. So having conversations, so you have an outlet to discuss and wallow, but then help, someone help you along to a solution. And then the first one you said, which is kind of like ask, okay, what's next? Or if this, then what? Kind
Yes.
of thing. So you just don't let it simmer on the back burner and just kind of make your day toxic, but you
Yeah.
bring it to the forefront, write it
It can't
down,
stay in
you
a
get through it.
cloud. That's what happens. When it stays ominous and undefined,
Yeah.
that's when it does its most damage. Once we start going, let me get something specific here, then it weirdly gives us a greater sense of assurance,
Yeah.
maybe a bit of confidence, and a thought of, okay, I don't even know if I have the capacity to do this, but at least I know it's being required of me. When it's ominous and unknown and undefined, it's
Mhm.
much scarier and less, we're less able to do anything about it.
Which message and keynote that do you have that kind of leans into this topic that you're talking
Well,
about?
two of them really. The maybe mindset, where we
Hmm.
talk about, there's a lot of things within the maybe mindset. It's like, oh, you think this is horrible. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Hmm.
And then in the agility mind shift, where we talk about the internal and external characteristics. And that most of us we have an internal life and an external life,
Hmm.
and if we don't deal with those things appropriately, they just lock us up. And so sometimes people have things going on internally, and they try to
Hmm.
change their external life to do that. Right, a lot of stress things, a lot of things that cause stress, is really what they do with their thoughts that releases the toxins in
Hmm.
their body. And so they try to fix it all out here when really it's an in here thing. And then
Yeah.
sometimes things going on in here or out here, things going on externally that we just have conversations over and over in mind, but never actually deal with it out here.
Yeah.
And so that's in that agility mind
Yeah.
shift message.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to go ahead and wrap it up. So
Okay.
if a leader is dealing with, maybe they have several people, or they kind of get the vibe and energy with their team that there's a lot of people dealing with this, and they are like, we need some of that agility mind shift, we need some of that maybe mind shift.
Mhm.
How can they get a hold of you?
Monica, great question. So we brand new website, greghawks.com. Just my first name, last name.com. Haven't ever had this kind of website. We live in the Hawks agency world, and so
Yeah.
having a greghawks.com is a lot of fun, and that's
Mhm.
where it's at. I mean, people can call me and text me 405-393-0. I got to remember that number. Or that's my, and then they could just email me also. Greg at Hawks Agency, Greg at GregHawks.com. I got 2 emails now. So let the good times roll.
Yeah, awesome.
390-0990, 405-390-0990.
Good job.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
remembered.
That's it. I'm like, it's that number. So,
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of your Friday, and we'll see you next week.
See ya. I had to stop it, Monica. I was waiting for you to do it. Sorry. So that was zippy. 10 minutes, right at just over 10 minutes.
Oh, good.